Hi everyone, welcome back to the XCEL podcast. I'm Riley Smith, and we've got a great guest with us today, Robbie McMorris. Robbie, welcome.
Good to be here.
This is a long time coming. We've been trying to get this done for quite some time. Main goal for today, I really want our viewers, our listeners, to get to know you a little bit better. Kind of give a little background on yourself, if you don't mind, and how long you've kind of been in healthcare, and we'll start there.
Okay, I gotta do some math. So,
I
went to William Woods University and graduated in 2012 with my bachelor's in athletic training. Started working in Quincy, Illinois at what was then First Choice, now XCEL.
Yep.
That was in 2012, and then shortly after, a year or two later, got into PTA school in Kansas City, Missouri, and got done with that probably around 2017-ish. So I've been in healthcare for about 12 years now at this point. Doing the PTA thing for about 6 or 7-ish, give or take. So that's the gist of that.
Yeah. Husband, father.
Yep. Married for 9.5 years now. Got 2 kids. Daughter is 6, son is 4. So daughter's in kindergarten, son's in pre-K.
You can't forget about Charlie.
And we got a dog. We got a beagle. He's a good dog.
Part of the family.
He's part of the family. He's been around for 8 or 9 years now too.
So I gotta insert one quick funny story, just real quick. Robbie and I have a very long history, so if we start to break out in laughter, just know it's part of who we are. But I was over at your house one time, and Charlie, he comes running up as I open the door.
He was just this big. He was just a pup.
Tiny. And the whole way he's coming towards me, he is peeing. Peeing on the floor. And
just
he
couldn't wait.
It's like one of those slow motion things. I can see it happening. He's like trying to stop as he almost runs into my foot.
And you're trying to backpedal?
I'm trying to backpedal. I got nowhere to go. And he pees all over my sock.
Yep.
And
you got rid of that sock?
but I still have the other one, so it's still there. But
good deal.
In all seriousness, we had Robbie come on board. I guess it was back in May of this year, right? And we're sitting here in our Hannibal location, we really wanted Robbie to come on board. Not only is he a great person, he's a great clinician. We've done an okay job, I think, of giving some really good people here on board. So I want you to talk a little bit about what makes you different, what things interest you when it comes to this field.
It's a good question. I think what you would think would happen is that everybody in our positions would be like driven to learn more and to educate themselves on whatever's new and advancing in the field. I've been around enough other clinicians. I know that's not always the case, So I feel like that is something maybe that separates myself from maybe your average PTA or athletic trainer or whoever. I do have a strong interest in learning more and trying to educate myself more. I listen to a lot of healthcare related podcasts. I've started running a lot more this year, and when I'm running, that's a great time for me to throw the headphones in and listen to. Sometimes it's an hour long, sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hour long podcasts. But those are great times for me to feel like I'm educating myself. So I would say that's, at least currently, a big differentiator between me and some of your typical clinicians. I just recently bought a new book by Kelly Starrett, who is the Supple Leopard guy. He's got his own podcast, and it's about basically how we can miss things as clinicians. We see people every day, and sometimes you get in these trends where you're not as locked in as maybe you need to be, and so it's about trying to stay out of that and pick up on little things that maybe you're missing, and then that's all the more ways you can help somebody, and that's ultimately what we all did it for. That's why we're all chose this profession. I went through it. I got injured playing high school sports, went to PT, got better, thought maybe I can do that with people, and so that's how I ended up here. But I think that's the goal.
Yeah. It seems like there's always either one story or maybe a couple experiences that people have had that have gotten them into this profession. So you were an athlete.
Yeah. Thank you.
Still are, right? We just have different things that we do now.
Chase kids now.
Chase kids. But it sounds like you had a positive experience with physical therapy, and you got better. You got back to being able to throw and do the things because you were a baseball player, a pitcher. Can you talk a little bit about in the last 12 years, how have you seen the profession change? And where do you think it needs to go to still be viable decades from now?
That's a good question. The profession's changing a lot with the way insurance kind of dictates different aspects of it.
You're like the fourth or fifth person that said that. Yeah.
Well, that's
it's the
to
truth,
me
though.
the truth. You know, like
Yeah.
I know you're the same way. When we first got into this, a lot of stuff we were doing were on paper charts. You know,
Yeah.
we had a box this big to write that daily note, visit in, and whatever made it in there, great. Whatever didn't, oh well, did not enough room, sorry. And now everything's on a computer, so there's no excuse for leaving anything out.
Right.
And so insurances, unfortunately, it seems like, from our standpoint, a lot of times, are trying to find anything they can to say, what you did wasn't good enough. You
Right.
know, what
Sufficient.
not enough skill here. So there's no excuse for leaving something out, like specifically why you do something and what the goal for that specific exercise is and what the hopeful outcome will be and why we're having our patient with a rotator cuff repair do that or our patient with a total knee replacement do that. So insurance is a big driver of the change that I've personally seen in the last decade plus, because it has pushed us towards electronic documentation, which has pushed us to spend what feels like more time on paperwork and documentation.
And less time with the patient.
Right, because you have to get this done. This thing in front of you has to be done in order for you to make money, me to make money, the company to make money.
Yep.
And so if that's not done, then we could be not even having a job, right? So
Right. Yeah.
it's a tough double-edged sword. You know, insurance is good, right? Everybody needs insurance, but it's the requirements they put on healthcare professionals that's changed a lot.
Yeah. I had this is probably 2 years ago now, but had a kid and he ruptured his Achilles. And this is a high-level kid. I mean, he was getting some Division I baseball offers. I mean, this was a high-level athlete that needed to get healthy and get back to his normal, everyday quality of life. And they gave us 6 visits, you know, to get a ruptured Achilles, you know, and it's like, it was obviously that patient's and that his parents' choice of where they worked and everything else. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. They were providing for their child. But the problem was that kid only got 6 visits. We did that, but then we gave probably, you know, I don't know how many sessions after that, and we didn't get paid anything. And I'm not telling that story to, hey, you guys are just awesome. No, the point is that kid suffered because of that. Now, we gave him many sessions, but to your point, why did we even go to school if our plan of care is going to be dictated by an insurance
If you don't have
company?
a say in
Right.
the quality of care and the amount of care that somebody might need or may not need. You know.
So how do we fix that? How are we a viable profession? And I wasn't even planning on going down this rabbit hole, but how are we still relevant 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
That's loaded. You know, kind of like what you're saying. You do what's right ultimately with the person in front of you.
Yep.
You know, you treat them like, and I've always felt this way, whether it's been in the outpatient setting like this, nursing home setting I've worked in the hospital setting, I've worked in home health setting. You always treat that person on that table or in that room with you like they're one of your family members, because honestly, that's how I'd want to be treated. You know, like if I was coming in for therapy, I want that person to treat me like they want me to get better just as bad as they want their son or their husband or their whoever, their father to get better. And that's kind of the mindset I try to have when you go in to work with somebody. It's like, okay, if this person was my grandmother, if this person was my sister, what would they need in order to get back to what they want to do? And that's really the only way I feel like you can approach that loaded question with insurance dictating so much. I don't know how it changes right now. I don't see how it gets better in the short term. Now, maybe there's some policies that can come into play down the road, giving PTs more, you know, ability to request care and you know, have a bigger say in the patient's needs or care that they receive. But right now, that's not happening. So, or at least very little. So, that's probably the biggest thing you can do is just keep approaching it like you said. Treat them like family. Do what's best for them, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, you got to do your best to help them get to where they want to be.
Yeah. this is probably a whole different episode that we'll do sometime, because Robbie's going to be, I think, depending on how many views we get for this episode, be an ongoing contributor here, and he might even do this by himself someday if he wants to. But I think that's a whole different topic in and of itself, right? Like how do we remain viable? I said this on a different episode, but I hate to hear when somebody had a bad experience with physical therapy. Whether that's, hopefully it's not us, but if it is, I hate that, number one. But even if it's with a different provider, like this is still, we're still trying to help people get to the same point, right?
Yeah. When people think of PT, they think of all PT, right? It's not just this place.
Oh, that didn't help me, or it's expensive, or it's whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I've tried therapy before, I didn't get better. Like, well, that's true. Like people get an impression in their head. Same thing with like a car dealership. You have a bad experience at a car dealership. A doctor, you go to a doctor, you don't have a good experience. You're going to tell your friend, like, hey, I went to that guy or that gal in it.
Especially in a small area like this, right?
Word spreads,
Yeah. Let me just take a bit of a different direction here. Give me some specific, or give our listeners some specific conditions that you feel you're pretty confident in, things that you have a lot of experience in. Obviously, you love working with athletes, but you'll also see the post-surgical patient. You'll see, somebody that has XYZ things. So maybe tell them a little bit about yourself that way.
I really like working with like shoulder-related issues and elbow-related issues because I've gone through those type of injuries before. I really enjoy baseball is my favorite sport, and I played baseball throughout college. And so going through shoulder-related issues in your baseball players, elbow-related issues in your baseball players, which you see so much more of now, it seems like. So those things I'm really interested in, and that's the stuff I really seek out when I try to learn more. There's a new study out on elbow valgus stress or ulnar collateral ligament stress. Like I want to read about it. I want to dive into that a little bit and see what's new. Did they figure out something new in this, or is it kind of the same stuff, just maybe worded different? Knee related, I've had a knee surgery. I've torn my meniscus in my left knee. I've torn my PCL in my right knee, so I like knee type stuff too. I feel like it's not as complex as a shoulder. I think what draws me to the shoulder or the upper extremity stuff is that there's so much going on there. Like the shoulder blade itself has 17 muscles that attach to it, which no other joint in the body has something like that going on. No. So it's just so intriguing. Like
it's a puzzle. Yeah,
you could treat 3, 4, 5 of these muscles. You're not going to solve the puzzle because you're not getting that 6th muscle treated. Right. So it's just complex, and it's a challenge, and that makes it fun. I think. Yeah.
How did athletic training, having that degree and that experience prior to becoming a physical therapy assistant, how did that help you?
Athletic training is very much like on the spot, like critical, quick decision-making type stuff. Whereas a lot of times in this setting, if you're coming in to see me, I know why you're coming in here.
Right.
I know that you had surgery on your hip, and you had it 2 weeks ago, and the surgeon was this guy. Whereas athletic training, you have to be prepared for anything, right? So I could be out there covering a football game, and a kid gets hit and falls down. He's taking a long time getting up. So immediately I start thinking, okay, what's going on with him or her? What do I need to go out there? If I go out there, what am I going to find? And then usually, it's nothing, right? Knock on wood. Usually it's a minor injury, but that mindset of I'm ready for anything. If it's major or minor, I'm going to be ready. So I think
you're having to think 3 or 4 steps ahead.
You do a lot of differential diagnosis type.
Right.
Stuff.
So my quick answer also would, because I was an athletic trainer as well, assessment. A lot of PTAs, and this is not a disrespectful thing, it's a training that doesn't typically occur in most 2-year schools. You don't get a lot of assessment because that's the PT's job. Well, I've always why can't a PTA? You've got a brain just like I do. I mean, you can use it just as well as I can. So that's probably the biggest thing that I see that maybe also separates you is you've got the ability to assess somebody. Somebody's having shoulder pain. I'm not saying that you do that without consulting the PT, because you do that, but you're able to give your 2 cents on that and say, hey, I've seen a lot of shoulders in my day too. I think we might need to consider this, as an intervention or a tool, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
Yep, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's something that you don't get in a PTA program.
Right.
But you will get it in an athletic training program. And athletic training is recently pushed to become a master's program.
Right.
which I think it's just a matter of time before the PTA program becomes either a bachelor's or more. Maybe that's already started. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it, but that could be something that's already in the works, which again will drive the cost of going to school, which is gonna. I think we've definitely seen it with athletic training. I think we're seeing it with PTs. You're going to start seeing the number of available therapists and athletic trainers decrease because not as many kids are going to school because they don't want to take out $6,000 or six figures worth of debt.
Right.
And
what do we see here in our local area? Schools are having a hard time finding certified athletic trainers to cover their football games or whatever it is that they're trying to cover. It's difficult. The workforce just simply isn't there. So there's definitely a need for more Robbie McMorrises out there. One of the things I hope you can hear too is that he enjoys learning. That's one of the things I think our staff does really well. We want to learn. We want to be better tomorrow than we are today. So please come in and see Robbie. Robbie and Jalen here are here in our Hannibal office. KJ Whitaker comes over a couple days a week as well. We're growing. We want to help you if we can. Robbie is a wealth of knowledge. And are there any closing remarks you want to say to our viewers? Subscribe.
Go Cardinals. Yeah.
I didn't even mention this guy wore a Cardinals shirt the first podcast he does, and so I know we probably have a lot of Cardinals fans.
My heart lies.
Yeah, we'll have to change that next time. But thanks for coming on board.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Yep.